say, for purposes of discussion, that the peer-reviewed papers and the people who write them are largely correct. For example, let's say that Harvard Professor Emeritus James Anderson correctly concluded in Forbes on January 15, 2018 that, quote, "The chance there will be permanent ice in the Arctic after 2022 is essentially zero," end quote. Let's say that Jennifer McKinnon at the Scripps Institution and also the University of California, San Diego is incorrect about there being an ice-free Arctic later this year, and instead, Professor Anderson is right about the Arctic becoming ice-free in 2023. This is what McKinnon conservatively concluded when she was interviewed by CBS News on April 23, 2021. Let's say that the conservative prediction of the first ice-free Arctic in the history of civilization, that is, the first ice-free Arctic in history, occurs in 2023, with full impacts occurring the following year, 2024. Let's say that I'm correct in assuming the resulting loss of habitat for humans occurs in 2024, and also that this leads to the extinction of all life on Earth as a result of either of two outcomes. One, the rapid rate of environmental change as described by Stronach and Bradshaw in their peer-reviewed article, "Co-Extinctions Annihilate Planetary Life During Extreme Environmental Change," published on November 13, 2018 in the renowned open-access peer-reviewed journal Scientific Reports. And two, the uncontrolled meltdown of the world's hundreds of nuclear facilities, leading to stratospheric ozone being stripped away and therefore causing Earth and its organisms to experience severe sunburn. I've presented ample peer-reviewed evidence in this space to support each of these conclusions. What I have not done, contrary to incorrect statements on Reddit and other social media platforms, is predict such an outcome by next Tuesday, or at any other time before December 31st, 2025. In other words, I expect loss of habitat for Homo sapiens to occur soon, but not as soon as trolls have indicated, and certainly not every version of next Tuesday. Back to my point. Let's say I'm correct in expecting Earth to lose habitat for humans, and therefore all other life relatively soon. As a result, I have been suggesting various approaches we can take in response to this horrific outcome. My suggestions apply to individuals, as well as to communities and all of society. The character Alice in the 2007 film No Country for Old Men had a line that applies to abrupt, irreversible climate change. Even the stunningly conservative Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has concluded that climate change is abrupt and irreversible, as I have reported previously in this space. As Ellis said in No Country for Old Men, quote, "You can't stop what's coming. It ain't all waiting on you. That's vanity," end quote. If we can't stop abrupt, irreversible climate change, then what can we do? At the individual level, I have pointed out the advantages of full knowledge and therefore making the resulting intellectual and emotional preparations. For example, we can complete or alter relationships on the path to grief recovery. I have frequently recommended the 2009 second edition of the Grief Recovery Handbook, written by James and Friedman. This book contains simple, straightforward exercises that have helped me and millions of other people understand and recover from grief. In addition, partner Pauline and I have offered the Only Love Remains workshop, found at onlyloveremains.org. We have offered this workshop for several years. It was initially inspired by the Grief Recovery workshop we attended in January 2014. Our workshop assumes that participants understand the evidence regarding abrupt, irreversible climate change and would like to proceed positively as a result. Anticipatory grief is an expected emotional response in light of the evidence pointing to near-term loss of habitat for our species. Recovering from grief, including recovery from anticipatory grief, offers a means of positively moving forward with one's life. I pointed to this route in my May 2019 peer-reviewed paper in Clinical Psychology Forum titled "Becoming Hope-Free: Parallels Between Death of Individuals and Extinction of Homo Sapiens." You can find this paper beneath the Media tab at GuyMcPherson.com. I have frequently pointed out in this space that hope is a lie and a mistake. After all, the definition of hope found in the Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary is, quote, "to cherish a desire with anticipation, or to want something to happen or be true." Wanting something to happen is not helpful. In contrast, acting to make something happen might be helpful. In similar vein, the Grief Recovery Institute in their workshop and in the Grief Recovery Handbook indicate that grief is defined as wishing for a different past. Not only is such an approach not possible, we cannot change the past simply by wishing, but it is a waste of our precious time. Again, action must be taken to engender a useful outcome. In this case, terminating or changing the nature of a relationship are useful actions compared to wishing for a different past. Changing the nature of relationships with people close to me has been enormously helpful. I suspect you too can benefit from this approach. The profound malpractice exhibited by government officials, paid climate scientists, and the corporate media does not offer a productive path forward for most of us. We are no longer in the 1960s when it was considered reasonable and ethical to withhold the truth about a terminal diagnosis from patients. There are steps we can take to improve lives at the community level, in addition to at the personal level. Focusing on overcoming racism, misogyny, homelessness, and other societal ills seems a worthy pursuit in every community. Honesty, respect, compassion, and attention to aesthetics can be beneficially scaled up from the individual level to the level of community. Let's just say it's worth the effort to promote such an outcome. Finally, at the level of society, we can and must implement a series of strategies collectively known as planetary hospice, ensuring that all members of society are given proper care, safely decommissioning nuclear facilities, and implementing the MEER reflection framework are necessary steps if our species is to remain on Earth beyond a few more years. That it is probably too late to implement these strategies and therefore preserve habitat for life on this planet is no reason to abandon the effort. After all, some pursuits are as worthy today as they were more than 2,400 years ago, when Socrates was posing the 6 questions he found so important to the human condition. What is good? What is piety? What is virtue? What is courage? What is justice? And what is moderation? It seems to me that efforts to return habitat for life on Earth are among the worthiest of pursuits. These efforts are consistent with the life and work of Socrates. The very notion that we can preserve life on Earth is a bit daunting. How shall we proceed beyond taking individual actions rooted in decency, supporting the MEER reflection framework, and pushing our communities to address racism, misogyny, homelessness, and other societal ills? These steps alone are a lot to ask, and decency alone is beyond the grasp of many people, as we all know. In the case of retaining habitat for our species, as with many other situations, helping others will almost certainly improve our own mental and emotional health. Ultimately, it might also allow for another few generations to complete their lives. As if those two outcomes alone do not offer sufficient rationale for pursuing decency and supporting a strategy for retaining life on Earth, there's more. Your children and grandchildren might thank you. If you have no children, like me, and therefore no grandchildren, your actions might preserve habitat for a tiny, seemingly insignificant one-celled organism. Someday along in the future, through the process of evolution by natural selection, this tiny organism might turn out to be the starting point for intelligent life to appear on Earth. Let's just say it could happen. Wouldn't that be something? Intelligent life on this pale blue dot, drifting through an indifferent universe? Stranger things have happened. Maybe, just maybe, our actions can engender this amazing, seemingly miraculous outcome. I'd say it's worth a try. If you agree, please join me in supporting relevant actions within our communities. In addition, please join me in supporting the MEER reflection framework developed by Dr. Ye Tao at Harvard University's Roland Institute. Thank you in advance. At the edge of extinction, only love remains.